All right, I want to welcome in our powerhouse panel for the first time on this Thursday morning. We've got a great panel to start the day. Former Nevada State GOP chairwoman and Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian is with us. National Advisory Board member for Project 21 out there in sunny St. Louis, Christopher Arps, is here, and senior contributor for The Federalist, Benjamin Weingarten, back with us this morning as well. Good morning to all. Getting closer to the weekend. Glad you could be with us before the holiday weekend. I want to start with the situation in Wuhan right now. Benjamin, we'll start with you. Dr. Fauci was grilled once again on Capitol Hill yesterday, and he says that we do need an investigation, finally, into the origins of this terrible virus. Take a listen.
Many of us feel that it is more likely that this is a natural occurrence, as has happened with SARS-CoV-1, where it goes from an animal reservoir to a human. But we don't know 100% the answer to that. And since this is a question that keeps being asked, we feel strongly, all of us, that we should continue with the investigation and go to the next phase of the investigation that the WHO has done. So because we don't know 100% what the origin is, it's imperative that we look and we do an investigation. And that's how we feel right now.
All right, Benjamin, you guys have been writing about this for as long as we've been talking about it here on Newsmax. We've been talking about this origin story for a while. We were lunatics just 2 weeks ago to even question. How dare we question? I actually got something slapped on a Facebook post I did. Facebook announced just yesterday they're no longer going to remove posts where you talk about the origins of coronavirus. And Benjamin, I mean this totally seriously. How long can Dr. Fauci stay in that job? Is it time for him to resign?
We're long past it being time for him to resign, but he is clearly getting caught here I don't know if he perjured himself in front of Congress, but he's come awfully close with respect to this question of the origin of the coronavirus. One of the most telling things that I've seen this week is if you look at the Chinese Communist Party's English language mouthpiece publications, they've turned on Fauci. For the longest time, they've praised him for essentially going along with what the CCP recommended in terms of shutdowns and other measures as well. For the first time, perhaps, in the entire crisis, you've actually seen publications like the Global Times actually coming after Fauci. And I think that tells you all you need to know about the fact that now the establishment, months later, when almost nothing has changed, actually, in terms of what we know about the origin of the coronavirus, besides some intelligence reporting on doctors who it appears got sick from that lab, only now, when nothing has changed, have they all come around and flipped. And it shows you that it's pure partisan politics, not a desire to get to the bottom of the origin, which, of course, is going to implicate the Chinese Communist Party and have massive geopolitical implications.
I can't help but wonder where we would be were Donald Trump reelected. Joe Biden wants the WHO to lead this 90-day investigation. They will not be leading it, but he called for that initially. Don't forget, Amy, it was Donald Trump who defunded the World Health Organization. Some people call them the Wuhan Health Organization because, in my opinion, I just think they don't have any credibility anymore. But so now we have this investigation. Joe Biden ended the investigation in January when he took office. There was already a State Department-run investigation happening into the origins. I want to know what's next, and I want to know what's next now. I don't want to wait 90 days. Who's on this team that's allegedly going to give us a thorough investigation? Do we expect this to be credible? Do we expect to believe the results that they find? Because I remember that World Health Organization investigation a couple months ago, and it was I didn't believe any of it.
No, and they handpicked the people who were pre-approved to actually participate in what they called a glorified field trip because it was all propaganda. There was nothing divulged, nothing of importance to actually come back and relay to the American people. So it is a joke, unfortunately. This is a very serious situation that I think not just Americans need to have the answers to, but the entire world. The fact that India is in such huge turmoil, the fact that Japan is now having a horrible second wave, this is catastrophic. And I really liked when Senator Kennedy was grilling, and pretty much in his way that he does so well with his little one-liners, is the fact that he asked Dr. Fauci, do you think that if you took President Xi Jinping.
Yeah, Amy, why don't we? I've got some of that. Let's play some of that sound.
He was. Would the who fall out of his pocket?
I have that. I'm going to tell my producers. Let's grab that soundbite, the WHO soundbite. But while we're grabbing that, let's play Fauci talking about the origins of the virus. He's still, and I don't know why he's doing this, Chris, but he's still saying no one knows for sure the origins. And right now, I think the zoonotic theory that this went from a bat to a person who bought the bat at the wet market, went home and ate it, and that's how we got coronavirus. There's no evidence to suggest that happened. By the way, the wet market where this allegedly, supposedly came from, right, that reopened 2 weeks after it was closed. Would you shop at that wet market if you knew a virus like coronavirus was found there 2 weeks earlier? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't go to a Stop and Shop if that was the case. Let's listen to Dr. Fauci yesterday.
Can we agree that if you took President Xi Jinping and turned him upside down and shook him, the World Health Organization would fall out of his pocket?
I don't think I can answer that question, sir. I'm sorry.
Boy, Chris, he should just resign. He should resign right now.
Yeah, he should resign. I mean, he's been all over the map when it comes to masks. I think that the interaction that he had with Rand Paul in that Senate hearing, where he basically admitted that his agency was funding some of the research in Wuhan, I think that makes him culpable in a sense with this virus. He needs to resign. He has absolutely no credibility. And we know that with the Chinese, they have no credibility. If their mouths are moving, they're probably lying. You don't have to be Columbo to have figured out that this virus probably was not a natural man-made occurrence, and that the Chinese probably unknowingly unleashed it on the world.
Yeah, yesterday, Benjamin, I want to play a quick soundbite of some of the exchanges that Fauci had. Here's Fauci saying that nobody knows for sure the origins of this virus. Take a listen.
No one knows, not even I, 100% at this point, which is the reason why we are in favor of further investigation.
But going back to precedent, the precedents require them to be similar. The difference between this one and that one is, as I said, 4 months we knew the host for SARS, 9 months we knew the host for MERS. China has all the incentive in the world to produce this host and hasn't done so. And then you add up all these other things. I mean, is it just a coincidence it happened in the city that's doing this kind of research, which, by the way, is controversial? I know you and others have been supportive of it, but it's controversial. It's not widely accepted as good. My whole point is there are people out there who had Facebook posts taken down, were called kooks, conspiracy theorists, for saying publicly a year ago what we now say may be possible. And I think those people deserve an apology.
Benjamin, I'll tell you something funny. By the way, he put that, Marco Rubio, Florida senator, put that so succinctly. My news director, my previous news director down in Florida, actually told me this was settled science at one point, the lab theory. And I said, well, how is it settled science? We don't have a host animal. But I thought it was, Dr. Fauci yesterday still claimed that they're looking for the intermediate host, that we haven't found the host for Ebola yet. And I'm sitting there and no bats are native to that area. Wuhan's a city the size of New York City, and this Wuhan Institute of Virology is 400 yards away. So that's 4 football fields away from this wet market. Doesn't it just seem like that story makes more sense?
Every single sign points to the lab leak theory being more than plausible. And, you know, there's the government bureaucrat aspect of this in Dr. Fauci, who wants to hedge and not give a definitive answer. But the real answer is this. From the very start, China has obfuscated, obscured, lied, and deceived in connection with every single aspect of the coronavirus, and then cynically tried to take advantage of it. One of the most grievous data points of it being that they stocked up on PPE. They went on a buying spree all around the world in advance of the depths of the crisis. So when he says, you know, we'll never know 100%, why is that, Dr. Fauci? Because the Chinese Communist Party is heavily culpable in what transpired. And you, Dr. Fauci, were deferential to them at almost every single turn of this crisis, and the WHO, with Dr. Tedros being China's man at the UN in the first place. So it's absolutely disgraceful. Dr. Fauci has said that basically when I worked with the Chinese scientists, they seemed honest and above board. But it strains credulity, and this goes to an understanding of who this adversary is. And the world needs to not only remember every aspect of Chinese Communist Party complicity in this, but it needs to hold them accountable. And Joe Biden, by the way, when did he ever ask the Chinese Communist Party in his dealings with Xi Jinping or his his subordinates dealing with their Chinese counterparts. When have they ever asked about the origin of this crisis? We've never heard any reporting about
Benjamin,
it.
quickly, I just wanted to add, Lindsey Graham brought something up yesterday because I honestly want to know, what's next with this story. Otherwise, we're going to talk ourselves. We've already done it. You know, you'll talk yourself blue in the face talking about this, and we've been talking about it for months, the better part of a year here on Newsmax. Lindsey Graham yesterday said that we should put together a team in the Senate to figure out the best way to place sanctions on China until they cooperate with the investigation. And that was the first time. That's the first time that I've heard something that is action. You could do that, and I think it would yield results. Do you think that would yield some kind of, because if we just imposed serious sanctions on China for months and months and months, eventually they've got to do something.
I would impose the sanctions on China regardless of whether they comply or not, quite frankly. So I take a very hawkish stand with respect to it. But tomorrow, if we said we are pulling out of the Olympics, if you do not completely open your doors, let us interview every single person associated with that lab and do a true forensic investigation examination. Yeah, I think China would react to it. I still think they'll cover it up ultimately because that's the nature of a communist regime, which they are.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah, tomorrow we should threaten to pull out of the Olympic Games. And by the way, we should pull out anyway.
I think I agree with you on the second part there. Amy, to your point, by the way, the largest newspaper in Japan is now calling for the Tokyo Olympics to be canceled. The opening ceremonies are July 23rd, as you know. The newspaper, by the way, is an official sponsor. And this is because of the coronavirus. Their case numbers remain very high in Japan. These Olympics, if they were canceled, this would be the second time that this Summer Olympic Games is canceled. We can talk about that at the top of the hour. We have a lot to get into this morning, panel. Great way to start the day. Good to see you all. We'll see you soon.